Jungkook deletes mysterious lyrics from his song. Was it really about Taehyung? What his manager uncovered left the team in complete shock. Cut the track. Right now. The silence in the studio cracked under the weight of Sejin's voice. No one had ever heard him like that before, not even Jungkook. Jungkook stood behind the glass booth, sweat dripping from his temple, earpiece still clinging to the sharp curve of his ear. His hand trembled slightly as it hovered near the mic. The red light blinked off. His voice had been silenced, but the words he'd just sung still echoed in the chilled air. She used to trace her name on my wrist. Just the letter T. Sejin's footsteps were sharp against the hardwood floor as he entered the booth, eyes dark, chest heaving. He didn't yell. That was what made it worse. You think no one would catch it? He asked quietly. You really thought I wouldn't hear it? Jungkook opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came. Not yet. His lungs were frozen, chest tight with a panic he hadn't felt in years, the kind that clawed up from inside your bones. I told you it was just a filler line, he finally muttered. Don't lie to me, Jungkook. Sejin's eyes narrowed. You wrote that line 3 years ago. You kept it through 4 rewrites. And now, when everything is finally ready, you drop it in at the last minute like some confession? Jungkook flinched. Confession. That word slammed into him like a wave of cold seawater. It's not what you think. Really? Sejin pulled out his phone and played the demo version Jungkook had sent 2 nights before. The line came again, clearer this time, layered with whispered harmonies. The letter T still stings when it rains. The ache in Jungkook's jaw grew as he clenched his teeth. He had tried to bury the truth between metaphor and melody, but it hadn't worked. He should have known. Sejin had been with him too long, knew him too well, and worst of all, he remembered London. Change it, Sejin said, voice low, final. Today, before this turns into something you'll never outrun. Jungkook didn't nod. He didn't move. His mind was spinning, spiraling through the months he'd spent convincing himself the line was harmless, that no one would notice, that T could mean anything. Tokyo. Time. Tomorrow. But he knew what it really meant. Who it really meant. Taehyung. The name sat like a bruise at the back of his throat. Outside the booth, the assistant producer, Minji, stared at her screen, pretending not to listen. But everyone in that room felt it, the crack in the atmosphere. The kind that made you instinctively hold your breath. Something had broken. Something old, sharp, and never properly healed. And it all began with one syllable. T. Hours later, Jungkook sat alone on the rooftop of Hybe's recording building, knees pulled to his chest, hoodie up despite the suffocating humidity. Below, the city moved like nothing had happened, like the ground hadn't shifted beneath his feet. He replayed the demo in his head, over and over, each time flinching at the lyric that now felt radioactive. His phone buzzed beside him, a message from Sejin. You don't have to explain, but don't make me protect you from yourself again. He didn't reply. Not yet. His eyes drifted toward the skyline, toward a plane slicing through the clouds. London was west of here, but the memory felt closer than ever. Back in 2021, they'd shared a hotel room for 3 days during a filming break. Jungkook remembered Taehyung's cologne more vividly than the view from Big Ben. He remembered the argument on the 3rd night, the one that started with laughter and ended with Jungkook slamming the door. I'm not just someone you write about, Taehyung had said, voice cracking. You don't get to turn me into lyrics and then walk away. But he had. And now, 3 years later, the ghost of that fight had resurrected itself in a single unfinished track. The studio was empty when Jungkook returned. He needed to be alone when he did this. He opened the file, found the offending line, and hovered over the waveform. It wasn't just about removing a lyric. It was about removing the last thread of something that had once been real, raw, and breathtaking. With one click, he deleted it. He stared at the silence that replaced it. And for the first time in months, he felt the weight of every word he'd written, not as an artist, but as a man still haunted by a letter. He stood slowly, closed the session, and slipped on his headphones not to listen, but to block out the world. Because the truth had never been in the song. It had always been in the silence that followed. You lied to all of us. The voice snapped through the dimly lit studio like a whip. This time, it wasn't Sejin. It was Yoongi. Jungkook turned, startled. He hadn't heard the door open. Yoongi stood in the doorway, eyes shadowed, jaw locked, holding a copy of the old demo file. Not the edited version. The original. The one with the lyric. The one Jungkook had thought was buried. "How did you?" Jungkook began. But Yoongi cut him off. "Don't ask me how. Ask yourself why." There was a long pause. Jungkook didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was dry. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. Yoongi stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "Do you know how many people I had to answer to this morning? PR, legal. Even Bang PD texted me. The song isn't even released, and somehow the leak got out." Jungkook's stomach dropped. "No one's pointing fingers," Yoongi said more softly now. "But I am. I know you. I know that lyric didn't come from some random memory. You didn't just stumble on that line by accident. You kept it because it meant something. To you. To him." Silence stretched thin between them. Then Jungkook said it, quietly. "Broken." "I never got to say it to him." Yoongi's jaw tightened. "Then why now? Why put it in the damn song? Knowing it would blow everything up?" Jungkook exhaled slowly, his back sinking into the chair behind him. "Because I thought maybe if he heard it, he'd know I still think about him." "And what? He'd come running back?" Yoongi laughed bitterly, rubbing a hand over his face. "This isn't one of your fan-written angst fics. This is real life. This is BTS. This is everything we've built." "He was part of that," Jungkook snapped, eyes flashing now. "Don't you dare erase him from that. Don't you dare pretend like he didn't matter." Yoongi froze, and in that moment, something shifted. Neither of them had said his name, but they both knew who they were talking about. Taehyung. The absence of his name was louder than any lyric. Yoongi sat down across from Jungkook, his voice low. "He mattered. He still does. That's why this is dangerous." Jungkook looked away, jaw trembling. "I didn't mean to make it worse. I didn't want to forget." Yoongi softened, but only slightly. "You won't. None of us will. But you have to stop bleeding in public and calling it art." The room went still again. The humming equipment, the muted city noise outside, the ticking second hand of the wall clock. It all seemed to hold its breath. Then Yoongi reached into his pocket and tossed a USB onto the table. "What's this?" Jungkook asked cautiously. "A track I was working on. It doesn't mention him, doesn't hint at anything. Just your voice, your story, not his." Yoongi stood. "Record that. If you still want to tell the truth, do it without dragging ghosts back into the spotlight." As Yoongi left the studio, Jungkook stared at the USB. His reflection hovered in the black gloss of the desk. He'd already deleted the lyric, but the guilt was still there. The longing. The weight of everything unsaid. Hours passed. He didn't touch the track. Instead, he opened his messages. His fingers hovered over a familiar contact. T. The last message had been over a year ago. Just a period. No words. Just punctuation that said everything. Now he typed, "Did you hear it?" Then he deleted it. And typed again. "I took it out." He stared at it for minutes. But in the end, he didn't send it either. He just sat there, blinking into silence. Haunted not by what he said, but by what he was still too afraid to say. The screen dimmed. The light in the studio flickered once before going black. Down the hallway, someone else had just entered the building, and they had heard everything. But Jungkook didn't know that yet. The elevator opened with a cold chime that echoed like a warning bell, and then he stepped out. Taehyung, dressed in a dark wool coat despite the warmth of the night, sunglasses still resting on his nose, though it was well past sunset, and a silence around him that felt heavier than the air. Every step toward the studio was deliberate. His boots clicked against the marble floor like a ticking bomb counting down. Staff members didn't dare breathe too loudly as he passed. One assistant mouthed something to another. Stunned, no one had seen him in the Hive building since the fallout. Not in person. Not like this. Not without a warning. He didn't knock. He didn't hesitate. He pushed the door open and found Jungkook sitting in the booth, headphones on, staring at nothing. The moment their eyes met, everything inside the room collapsed. Jungkook froze. His body tensed like a deer caught in headlights, but his face was unreadable, trained, blank, as if he had been preparing for this ambush for years. Taehyung closed the door behind him, slow and smooth. His sunglasses came off with a quiet snap and landed on the nearby console. His eyes were bloodshot. "Guess what I heard," he said. Jungkook stood up slowly. Tae. No. Taehyung's voice sliced through the air. Don't call me that. Not here. Not after what you did. Jungkook inhaled sharply, stepping out of the booth, hands raised slightly like he was approaching a wounded animal. I removed it! The lyric! It's gone! You don't have to worry! Taehyung let out a bitter laugh that sounded like it physically hurt. You think this is about the lyric? You think deleting one line fixes 3 years of silence? Jungkook's jaw clenched. Then why are you here? I didn't come for closure. I came to make sure you never use my name again. Not in a lyric, not in a coded line, not in a damn whisper. Jungkook stepped closer, trembling now. You think I used you? You think this is some kind of PR trick? I think you're a coward, Taehyung snapped. You had years to say something to me. You had chances, Jungkook. In London, after the interview, after the firestorm. And what did you do? You vanished. I was protecting you, Jungkook finally shouted, voice breaking. I was protecting us. No, Taehyung hissed. You were protecting your image, your clean hands, your fan service fairy tale. You erased me, not to protect me, but to forget me. Jungkook's shoulders slumped, like he'd just been shot. He looked older suddenly, tired, like every hour of every sleepless night had finally caught up to him. You think I forgot you? He said, quieter this time. I tried. I tried so hard to move on, Tae. I wrote other songs. I kissed people I didn't love. I smiled in front of cameras while dying inside. But I never forgot you. I couldn't. Taehyung's eyes glistened, and he looked away, jaw tight. Then why didn't you just tell me? Because you said not to, Jungkook said, voice trembling. You said not to turn you into a lyric. You said you didn't want to be a secret, and I couldn't make you public. So I did the only thing I thought would keep you safe. Taehyung turned sharply, fury flashing in his eyes. You don't get to make that decision for me. You don't get to silence me twice, Jungkook. The studio fell into thick silence again. Jungkook took one slow step forward. So tell me what to do now. Taehyung blinked, stunned by the sincerity. What? Tell me what to do, Jungkook repeated, voice barely audible. You want me to disappear from your life? I will. You want me to leak the truth? I will. I don't care anymore. Just tell me, because I've spent 3 years guessing what you want from me, and I'm done playing it safe. Taehyung's expression cracked. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to scream, or cry, or collapse. But instead, he whispered, You don't even know what you took from me. Jungkook stepped back, as if struck. Then tell me. I can't, Taehyung muttered. Because if I say it out loud, it becomes real. Their eyes locked, both of them trembling. Not from anger now, but from the weight of 3 years of unsaid truths pressing against the walls of their chests. Jungkook opened his mouth, but the door burst open again. It was Minji. I'm sorry, she panted, clearly terrified. But the lyric, it leaked. The original version. Someone released the demo online. It's going viral. Right now. Jungkook's face drained of color. Taehyung turned to her slowly. How viral? Minji hesitated, then said, Trending #1 worldwide. Hashtag T4Taehyung. Jungkook sank into the nearest chair. Taehyung stared at him for a long, cold moment. Congratulations, he said bitterly. You finally told the world. Jungkook tried to stand, but Taehyung was already at the door. Don't follow me, he said, and don't release another lyric with my name in it, because next time, his voice broke into something sharper, more dangerous. I'll write my own song, and it won't be as kind as yours. The door slammed behind him, and in the silence that followed, Jungkook sat alone once more, drowning, not in lyrics, but in the consequences of the truth. Jungkook didn't go home that night. He couldn't. The internet had exploded. Hashtags were burning across every platform. #T4Taehyung, #JK lyrics leak, #hidden verse, and worse. Fan theories spiraled like wildfire, dissecting every second of the leaked demo, every metaphor, every breath. Comment sections turned into battlefields. Some fans demanded answers. Others swore it was all fiction. Some dug up old videos from the London tour, still frames where their eyes met for a second too long. Every blink was suddenly evidence. Every silence became proof. He sat hunched on the floor of the studio, knees bent, his phone buzzing endlessly beside him. Mentions, notifications, voicemails, even text messages from people he hadn't spoken to in months. Jimin, Namjoon, staff, an old friend from Busan. Everyone wanted a version of the truth, and none of them were asking how he felt. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't moved. His hands were still shaking when Yoongi returned the next morning. Without a word, Yoongi placed a coffee beside him and crouched down, eyes tired but softer than before. "You okay?" he asked. Jungkook laughed quietly, bitter. "You saw the trends?" "I saw the panic in Bang PD's eyes first. That told me enough." Jungkook's lips trembled. "I didn't leak it." "I know." Yoongi sat beside him in silence for a while. The room felt colder than it should have. The kind of cold that had nothing to do with temperature. "He came," Jungkook whispered finally. "Taehyung came here, last night." Yoongi turned to him sharply. "What?" Jungkook nodded slowly. He heard the song, the original. He was furious. Yoongi leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Did he say anything definitive?" "Define definitive," Jungkook muttered. "Did he tell you it's over? That there's no coming back?" Jungkook hesitated. "Not in those words." "Then it's not over." Jungkook looked at him, eyes rimmed red. "Yoongi, he said he'd write his own song. He said it wouldn't be as kind." Yoongi chuckled without humor. "That sounds exactly like Taehyung." "And he meant it." Yoongi nodded slowly. "Good. Maybe it's time he stopped protecting your reputation and started protecting his heart." Jungkook looked down. "I never asked him to do that." "You didn't have to," Yoongi said. "That's what made it worse." The door opened suddenly. It wasn't a knock. It was a storm. Sejin barged in, holding a folder full of printed screenshots, face stone cold. He dropped the entire folder on the table. Images spilled everywhere. Tweet threads, reaction videos, translated analyses of the lyric. Every page was another fire burning out of control. "We've got a meeting in an hour with the legal team," Sejin said curtly. "Hybe is considering a full takedown request, and possibly a public statement. But they need to know now. Do we confirm or deny?" Jungkook stood up slowly. "Confirm what?" Sejin stared at him. "That the T in the song stands for Taehyung. That the song was about him. That you—" "I'm not confirming or denying anything," Jungkook said. "I'm done lying. But I'm not dragging him through the mud for views either." Sejin narrowed his eyes. "Then we need another strategy. Because the media already has a target. They're speculating on everything from a secret relationship to a PR stunt to a breakup scandal. This is spiraling." "I don't care if it spirals," Jungkook said sharply. "Let it spiral. I care about him." Yoongi glanced at Sejin, who looked momentarily stunned. "He needs to hear it from me," Jungkook continued. "Not through a hashtag. Not through a company statement. Not through another damn lyric." "Then tell him," Yoongi said simply. Jungkook exhaled deeply. "He won't answer. Try harder." Later that day, Jungkook stood in front of Taehyung's apartment building, wearing a cap low over his face, mask up, oversized hoodie hiding his frame. He waited outside in the cold rain, watching the entrance like a man waiting for a sign from the universe. But the windows upstairs remained dark. An old woman walking her dog paused near him, squinting. "You okay, young man?" Jungkook blinked. "Just waiting. For someone?" "For an answer." She smiled gently and walked away. Eventually, he left a note with the doorman, just a short letter in his handwriting. "If you won't let me sing it, then I'll say it. I was in love with you. I still am. And I'm sorry that it took a leaked demo for me to admit that out loud." 2 days passed. No reply. But the morning after that, Jungkook's phone buzzed with a new YouTube notification. The title made his blood run cold. "'Tis response. Unreleased track. Rough cut." It wasn't on Hybe's official channel. It wasn't labeled under Taehyung's stage name. It was posted anonymously, but there was no mistaking that voice. Deep. Velvet. Trembling with rage. And longing. The first line cracked like thunder. "You don't get to mourn me when you were the one who buried us." The entire fandom went into meltdown. And Jungkook? He didn't even press pause. He listened to every raw second of it, eyes stinging with tears, because he knew this wasn't just a song. This was war and love. Still, somehow, both bleeding into the beat. The second verse cut deeper than the first. Jungkook sat motionless on the leather couch in his apartment, eyes wide, chest caving in with every syllable echoing through the speaker. Taehyung's voice was unfiltered, raw, wounded, unapologetic. No backing vocals, no production polish, just him. It felt less like a song and more like a confession soaked in gasoline. And then came the line, "You kissed me like a secret and left me like a scandal." Jungkook jolted forward, his hands trembling. He grabbed his phone, paused the track, and stared at the screen as if it were about to explode in his hand. It had only been live for 30 minutes, but the view count was already in the millions. Thousands of comments flooded below. Some were confused, some were crying, some were screaming, but a few had already put the pieces together. Too fast, too accurately. He ran a hand through his hair, stood up, paced the room like an animal in a cage. His ears were still ringing. That lyric, it wasn't metaphor. It was memory. London. That last night in the hotel. The silence after the argument. The hallway. The moment they almost said everything but chose skin over words. The kiss they never spoke about again. And now it was a weapon. A notification popped up. Yoongi, then Jimin, then Namjoon, all asking the same thing. Have you heard it? Then the one message Jungkook wasn't ready for. From Taehyung. Don't respond. Don't apologize. Just listen. Jungkook's heart cracked open. He replayed the track. Again and again. Every line became a wound. Every chorus an accusation. Taehyung didn't hold back. He talked about betrayal, about erasure, about silence that screamed louder than any song. And he never once said Jungkook's name, but he didn't need to. Everyone knew. When the track ended, silence filled the room like fog. Jungkook leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor, dizzy. His chest felt tight. His fingers curled into fists against the carpet. He wanted to scream, to run, to go back to that night and fix it all, but he couldn't. All he could do was breathe, and barely. A knock at the door jolted him back to reality. Not a soft tap. A hard, urgent knock. He stood slowly, hesitating before unlocking it. Yoongi pushed inside the moment it opened. You listened? Jungkook didn't answer. His face said everything. Yoongi pulled off his cap, paced once, and then looked at him dead on. He wrote it, recorded it, posted it, alone, without a team, without the label. Do you know what that means? Jungkook nodded slowly. He wanted to bleed in public, too. No! Yoongi snapped. He wanted to be heard. He wanted you to hear him without a filter, without PR, without hiding behind safe words and metaphors. Jungkook looked down. He told me not to respond. So don't release a track. But do something. Jungkook's eyes lifted. What would you do? Yoongi stared at him, then said, I'd go to him. Not with a song, not with a camera. Just your face. Just the truth. Jungkook's voice broke. I'm scared he won't even open the door. Then stand outside until he does, Yoongi said. You've let everyone else speak for you. Speak for yourself now. It was almost midnight when Jungkook stood outside Taehyung's building again. This time, no mask, no hoodie, just him. The wind was sharp, slicing across his cheeks. His heart pounded like it was trying to escape his chest. His palms were sweating despite the cold. He pressed the buzzer. No answer. He buzzed again. Silence. He took a step back, looked up at the windows. No lights. Then suddenly, a shadow moved behind one curtain. A window cracked open. Taehyung's voice drifted out low, cold. You're not supposed to be here. I know, Jungkook called up. But I didn't come to defend myself. I came to tell you something I should have said a long time ago. You already said it, Taehyung said. In your silence. Jungkook's chest tightened. Then let me speak now. A pause. Then the front door clicked open. Jungkook pushed it slowly and stepped into the lobby. Taehyung was waiting at the top of the stairs. Arms crossed over his chest, no emotion on his face. Jungkook walked up each step like he was carrying years of regret on his back. They stood face to face in the hallway, barely a foot apart. Jungkook's voice was hoarse. I was in love with you. Taehyung didn't flinch. Jungkook continued. I didn't say it back then because I was terrified of what it meant, of what it would cost. But I'm not scared anymore. Taehyung looked away, jaw clenched. It cost me everything, Jungkook. I know. he whispered. "And I would give everything back just to hear you say one thing." Taehyung's voice cracked. "What?" "That you still care." For a long moment, there was no sound but their breathing. Then Taehyung whispered, barely audible, "I never said I was done with you." Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. "Then let me start again." Taehyung shook his head. "It's not that simple." "I know," Jungkook said, "but nothing about us ever was." And in the silence that followed, for the first time in years, neither of them turned away. They just stood there, two people with too much history, too many scars, and maybe, just maybe, a sliver of something still left to salvage. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a beginning. Or maybe an end. The room was suffocating. Taehyung turned away first. The hallway light cast long shadows on the wooden floor, and his silhouette trembled ever so slightly as he stepped into the apartment. He didn't invite Jungkook in. He didn't say a word. But he didn't shut the door either. So Jungkook followed. It was quiet inside. Too quiet. The kind of silence that only exists between two people who used to know each other deeply and now walk like strangers around old memories. The living room was neat, untouched, except for a pair of headphones tangled on the couch and a used coffee mug on the windowsill. The same mug Jungkook bought him 2 birthdays ago. "I'm not here to reopen wounds," Jungkook said softly. Taehyung didn't look at him. "Then why does it feel like you already did?" Jungkook's lips parted, but the words died before they could surface. Taehyung turned, slowly, finally meeting his eyes. "You don't get to show up now with apologies and expect me to melt. That's not how this works." "I'm not asking you to melt," Jungkook replied. "I just want the truth. Yours. Mine. Something. My truth?" Taehyung stepped closer. "My truth is that I loved you, that I waited for you to say it back, that I believed in something you were too scared to name, and when it all came crashing down, I was the one who took the fall alone." Jungkook's voice cracked. "I took the fall too." "No," Taehyung snapped. "You fell into silence. I fell into hell." Jungkook stepped back, stunned by the weight of those words. "I was the one everyone questioned," Taehyung continued, voice trembling. "Why is he distant? Why doesn't he smile the same? Why is he withdrawing from the group? No one ever asked what you did. Because you're Jungkook, golden boy, untouchable, protected. I never asked for that protection." "No, you just never rejected it either." Jungkook's hands curled into fists. "You think I didn't suffer? You think I slept at night? You think I didn't hate myself for every second I stayed silent while you shattered alone? Then tell me why you let me burn." Taehyung's voice finally broke. "Tell me why you watched me burn and did nothing." "I was afraid," Jungkook exploded. "Afraid that if I chose you, I'd lose everything. That fans would turn on us, that the label would destroy us, that we'd be nothing but a scandal. I thought I was protecting you." Taehyung's laugh was bitter. "You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself, your brand, your image." Jungkook stepped forward. "That's not fair." "No," Taehyung said quietly. "What's not fair is waking up every day to see your face on billboards, singing songs that used to be ours, while I had to pretend none of it mattered." Jungkook blinked back tears. "They were never just songs to me." Taehyung stared at him. "Then why did you let the world think they were?" There was no answer to that. Not one that would heal anything. Taehyung looked down at the floor. "You know what hurts the most?" Jungkook shook his head. "That I still wanted to hear you say it. Even after everything, even when I hated you, I still waited for your voice." Jungkook's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm saying it now." Taehyung shook his head slowly. Too late. The words cut deeper than anything Jungkook had ever heard. He nodded, taking a step back. "I understand." "No," Taehyung said suddenly. "You don't." Jungkook froze. Taehyung's expression shifted, anger replaced by something far more dangerous. Resolve. "I'm releasing the full version of the track," he said. "What?" "The one I uploaded? That was just the rough cut. The real version. It names you." Jungkook's heart stopped. "You can't." "I can," Taehyung interrupted. "I wrote it. I lived it. It's mine. You'll be dragged through hell." "I already was," Taehyung snapped. "At least this time, I'm holding the torch." Jungkook stepped forward again. "Please don't do this." "Why? Afraid it'll ruin your reputation?" "No. Afraid it'll ruin you." Taehyung's expression softened for a second. Just a flicker. Then it hardened again. Maybe I need to be ruined. Maybe I need to burn everything down to finally feel free. Jungkook whispered. Then let me burn with you. Taehyung blinked, stunned into silence. I'm not walking away this time, Jungkook continued. If this is war, I'm standing beside you. Even if you never forgive me. Even if you hate me until your last breath. Why? Taehyung asked, voice raw. Because I never stopped loving you. The silence that followed was unbearable. A vacuum. A scream held in the lungs. Taehyung closed his eyes. Then softly he whispered, It would have meant more 3 years ago. Jungkook's voice broke. I know. And still, Taehyung didn't ask him to leave. They stood in the middle of that apartment, two ghosts bound by a past that refused to die. No resolution, no promises. But this time, the silence didn't feel like running. It felt like the beginning of a reckoning. The apartment lights remained dim, the tension brighter than anything artificial ever could be. Neither of them had moved. Taehyung stood still near the center of the room, hands at his sides, eyes locked on the floor like he was trying to keep himself from shattering again. Jungkook leaned against the doorway, chest rising and falling with slow, calculated breaths, as if he feared the slightest sound would set off another explosion. Jungkook broke the silence first. If you release that song with my name, it's not just a headline anymore, Tae. It becomes permanent. Taehyung looked up, eyes heavy. And what we had wasn't. That's not what I meant. Taehyung took one slow step forward. Then say what you mean. For once. Without hiding behind excuses, or fans, or the label. Just you, me, in this room. Say it plain. Jungkook swallowed hard, voice quiet. If you release it, I'll lose everything. Taehyung's smile was a slow, bitter curve. You already did. You just haven't accepted it yet. Jungkook's hands twitched at his sides. That's not true. No? Then look me in the eye and tell me this wasn't real. Tell me London didn't happen. Tell me the song was fiction. Go ahead. Taehyung's voice was shaking now. Lie to my face one last time. Jungkook's voice caught. I can't. Exactly, Taehyung whispered, taking another step closer. Because we both know that song is the closest thing to the truth you've ever given me. Jungkook's voice hardened, trembling with desperation. Then let me give you the rest of it. Not in a leaked verse, not in a fight. Let me give it to you in person. You're months too late, Taehyung said. I'll take late over never, Jungkook answered. Taehyung blinked. His jaw was tense, but his eyes betrayed everything. The love that still lived in the ruins, the pain that refused to heal, the part of him that had waited at the edge of silence. Hoping Jungkook would finally jump, he turned away, pacing to the window. Rain trickled down the glass like falling time. Do you want the world to know, or just me? Jungkook hesitated. I want you to know, but I don't want to keep hiding either. And what does that mean? Taehyung asked. You'll go on live tomorrow and say, by the way, I used to be in love with my bandmate? You'll post a cute tweet and let the internet eat us alive again? No, Jungkook said. I'll go on live and tell the truth, but not the way they want it. Taehyung turned slowly. You think you can control the narrative? No, Jungkook said. But I can stop letting other people write it for me. A pause stretched between them. Then, almost too softly, Taehyung said, what if I don't want to be part of the narrative anymore? Jungkook felt that like a blow to the chest. Do you mean that? I mean I'm tired, Jungkook, of being a secret, of being a metaphor, of being a shadow in the studio, a whisper in a lyric. I wanted you, not the version of me you kept safe in a file on your computer. You had me, Jungkook whispered. No, Taehyung said, stepping forward, voice trembling. I had pieces of you. I had the version of you that looked over his shoulder every time we touched, the version that flinched when I reached for your hand in public, the version that only said, I love you when no one else was listening. Jungkook's voice was ragged. I didn't know how to be brave back then. And now? Taehyung challenged. Jungkook straightened. Now I do. Prove it. Jungkook pulled out his phone, fingers trembling slightly as he opened his live app. Taehyung's eyes widened. What are you doing? You said prove it, Jungkook replied. So I will. No, Taehyung said quickly, stepping forward. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Jungkook asked. Because I'm standing here ready to burn the house down for you. And you're still guarding the door. Taehyung froze, chest heaving. Jungkook's voice cracked. You told me I never said it loud enough. Fine. Then I'll say it where the whole damn world can hear. Taehyung reached out and placed his hand over Jungkook's, lowering the phone slowly. His voice was quieter now, but intense. Don't do this for me. Don't do this because you think it'll fix us. Then why should I do it? Do it because you want to live without secrets, Taehyung said. Not because you want me back. Jungkook looked at him for a long time. What if I want both? Taehyung exhaled shakily. Then tell your truth, but be ready to lose everything. Jungkook nodded. I already did, the moment I lost you. Taehyung's eyes closed for a second, like the words hit somewhere he couldn't shield. He stepped back, arms folding over his chest. I won't stop you, he said. But I won't stand beside you either. Not yet. I understand, Jungkook said. The air between them shifted. A little softer, a little less violent, but still raw. Taehyung looked at him one last time. Whatever you decide to say, mean it. Don't perform it. Jungkook nodded. Taehyung opened the door, silently dismissing him. And for once, Jungkook didn't beg. He walked out with the weight of 1,000 moments on his shoulders. Down the hallway, down the stairs, into the night. And when he reached the street, he looked up at the sky, still dripping rain, and whispered to himself, I'm done being afraid of the truth. Back upstairs, Taehyung sat at the piano, fingers hovering over the keys. He didn't play anything. Not yet. But in the silence, something cracked open. Not forgiveness, but maybe the beginning of understanding. The rain had stopped by morning, but the streets of Seoul still glistened like they remembered the night before. Jungkook hadn't slept. He sat alone on the rooftop of his building, hoodie up, staring out over the skyline like he was waiting for the city to answer a question he hadn't dared ask out loud. His phone sat in his lap, dark screen reflecting his tired eyes. His thumb hovered over the live stream button again and again, but he couldn't bring himself to press it. Every time he got close, a wave of nausea rose in his throat. Not because he didn't know what to say, but because he did. He had rehearsed it all in his mind. The confession, the truth, the apology, the breaking of the fourth wall that separated his heart from the millions who claimed to know him. But none of it felt right. None of it felt like enough. And then his phone buzzed. A text. From Taehyung. Go live, Jungkook, or let me go forever. No punctuation, no pleasantries, no ambiguity. Jungkook stared at the message like it might explode in his hand. And then, without thinking, without breathing, he tapped the screen. The app opened. The red button stared back at him. He hesitated. His heart was thundering now. He tapped again. You are now live. The comments exploded almost instantly. His name trended within seconds. Armies flooded in from every corner of the world, shocked to see him go live with no announcement, no schedule, no makeup. Just Jungkook, barefaced, eyes swollen, hair messy, hoodie damp with the sweat of indecision. He didn't speak at first, just looked into the lens, blinking slowly. And then he exhaled. Hi, he said softly. I don't know how to start this, so I'll just say what's on my heart. The comments were moving too fast to read. Some were crying emojis. Some were frantic. Some already guessed. I've been quiet for too long, Jungkook continued. And in that silence, I hurt someone I care about. Someone I loved. Still love. And I thought that if I buried it deep enough, if I sang around it, hinted at it, danced through it, I could escape the truth. But I can't. He looked down, throat tightening. I wrote a song. You heard a version of it. Some of you guessed the meaning, some of you didn't. But the truth is, it wasn't just a song. It was a memory, a wound, a moment I couldn't let go of. He took a shaky breath, and the T in that lyric. Yeah, it meant exactly what you think it did. The chat froze, then surged like a tidal wave. Jungkook continued, louder now. He didn't ask to be part of my music. He asked to be part of my life. And I failed him. Not because I stopped loving him, but because I was afraid. His voice cracked on the last word. Afraid. He looked away, jaw tightening. I was afraid of losing you. Of losing this. Of losing myself. But In the end, I lost him. And now, I'm not afraid anymore. He looked directly into the lens. I love Taehyung. I still do. I don't care if this cost me everything. I'm done hiding. He ended the live abruptly. No outro, no wave, just darkness. The silence afterward was louder than the confession. Down the street, Taehyung stood on his balcony, phone in hand, eyes wet. He had watched the entire thing without blinking. His hand trembled slightly as he set the phone down. His heart was a war zone. A knock came at the door, slow, steady. He opened it. Yoongi stood there, expression unreadable. I assume you saw it, Yoongi said. Taehyung didn't speak. Yoongi stepped inside anyway, shutting the door behind him. So what now? Taehyung leaned against the wall, eyes still stunned. I don't know. You gonna forgive him? Taehyung closed his eyes. I want to. Then do it. It's not that simple. Yoongi shrugged. You made it this far. Might as well finish the song. Taehyung looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Yoongi smiled faintly. You wrote a track. He just wrote one live. Maybe it's time for the duet. Taehyung's breath caught. Think about it, Yoongi said, already turning toward the door. Don't let the world write the ending. Write it yourselves. As Yoongi left, Taehyung stood in the quiet, mind spinning. Could he? Should he? Was it even possible? He walked back to the piano, sat down, closed his eyes, and played the first chord. No words. Not yet, but a beginning. One not just the world could hear, but one Jungkook could too. The news had broken before dawn. Jungkook's live had triggered a cultural detonation networks across Korea, entertainment sites across the globe, and ARMY communities everywhere went into meltdown. The words Jungkook, Taehyung, and confession trended in more than 70 countries. Talk shows speculated. Former trainees gave interviews. Hybe's phone lines were reportedly overwhelmed by calls from investors, journalists, and outraged parents. But none of it mattered to Jungkook. He sat in the back seat of a black van, staring blankly at the tinted window as Seoul blurred past him. A staff member beside him nervously scrolled through a tablet. Reading headlines aloud he clearly regretted reading. Hybe. Yet to respond to Jungkook's shocking confession. PR or passion? Internet divided over BTS members' revelation. Was there a secret relationship in BTS all along? Jungkook finally reached out and closed the tablet with a heavy sigh. Turn it off. The van drove on in silence. He was heading toward a recording studio, not Hybe, not anything official. A private one. One Yoongi had recommended. One Taehyung had used before. He hadn't spoken to Taehyung since the live. He hadn't heard from him at all, but a message had arrived this morning. Short. Just a location and a time. Jungkook hadn't dared hope. He told himself it could be anything. Confrontation, closure, even fury, but he'd take anything over silence. Anything over the nothingness he had lived in for too long. The van pulled into an alley. He stepped out alone, hoodie up, cap low. The air smelled like the city after rain concrete, smoke, something strangely hopeful. He pushed open the door of the narrow building and took the elevator to the third floor. It was already open when he arrived. Taehyung stood inside the studio, wearing black jeans and a white oversized shirt. His hair was messy, like he'd been pulling at it. His eyes were darker than usual, tired, cautious, but there was something else there, something unreadable. Jungkook stepped in slowly. Neither of them spoke for a full minute. Finally, Taehyung broke the silence. You didn't lie this time. No, Jungkook said. I couldn't. Taehyung nodded once. I didn't think you would. Another silence passed between them. Not cold, not warm, just fragile. Taehyung motioned toward the mic. Do you remember the first time we recorded together outside the company? Jungkook smiled faintly. Yeah. The tiny booth that smelled like old coffee. You had a cold, Taehyung added. Still insisted on singing the high notes. Jungkook laughed. I sounded like a dying cat. You sounded like someone trying too hard to prove he was okay, Taehyung said softly. Jungkook looked down, the laughter fading. I wasn't okay then. I know. Another pause. Taehyung sat on the piano bench, fingers resting on the keys but not pressing them. Yoongi said something. Of course he did. He said maybe it was time for the duet. Jungkook's breath caught. Taehyung looked at him. What if we wrote one together? Not a diss, not a defense, just the truth. Jungkook hesitated. Can we even do that anymore? I don't know, Taehyung admitted. But if we don't try, we'll both keep bleeding through lyrics forever. Jungkook stepped forward slowly. I'll try. With you. However you want. Taehyung's voice cracked. Then start with this. He stood up and passed Jungkook a page, handwritten, smudged in some corners, probably with tears. Jungkook read the first lines and froze. The lyrics were brutal, honest, beautiful, and all of them were about him. I was the secret you loved in the dark, while the cameras adored your light. He looked up, eyes glistening. You want me to sing this? Taehyung nodded. You already lived it. Jungkook walked to the mic, heart pounding. He didn't need the instrumental. He didn't need auto-tune or engineering. He just needed this, to tell the story without armor. He took a breath, closed his eyes, and sang. His voice was shaky at first, raw from sleepless nights and swallowed pain. But it grew with every line. With every syllable, he carved through the silence that had swallowed them whole. The words cracked something open in both of them. When he finished the first verse, Taehyung joined on harmony. No announcement, no cue, just instinct, the way it used to be. Their voices met in the middle, like hands reaching across a fire. They sang a chorus that had never been written, only felt. And, as the final note lingered in the room, they just stood there, eyes locked, hearts exposed. Taehyung stepped back, voice barely above a whisper. So this is what the truth sounds like. Jungkook nodded. Finally. But before either of them could speak again, a phone buzzed on the table. Taehyung picked it up. He read the screen, and his face went pale. Jungkook froze. What is it? Taehyung turned the screen toward him. It was a breaking news alert. HYBE CEO issues emergency statement. We did not approve of Jungkook's live. There will be consequences. Jungkook's blood ran cold. And just like that, the weight of the world came crashing down again. But this time, they weren't standing on opposite sides of the storm. They were side by side. And for once, neither of them moved. The screen glared between them. Taehyung's hand trembled slightly as he lowered the phone to the table. The weight of the notification seemed to hang in the room like a choking fog. Jungkook didn't speak at first. He just stared at the headline until the words blurred. Then he exhaled, sharp and cold. They're trying to scare me. Taehyung's voice was low. They're not trying, Jungkook. They've already decided. He walked to the corner of the room and leaned against the wall, arms folded tightly across his chest. HYBE doesn't issue emergency statements unless they've already drafted the punishment. Jungkook rubbed his temples, pacing the room. They think they can silence me again. Like before. Like always. Taehyung looked up slowly. Will you let them? Jungkook turned. I didn't walk into the fire just to crawl out because they told me to. Taehyung studied him. Are you sure? Because this isn't just about you anymore. You dragged me into the flames too. Jungkook froze, the accusation hitting squarely in the chest. You were already in it, Tae. I just stopped pretending you weren't. Taehyung's eyes darkened. That's easy to say now. Jungkook's voice rose. You told me to go live. You said do it or let you go forever. I didn't say destroy yourself in the process. Jungkook's jaw clenched. Maybe I needed to be destroyed. Taehyung's tone turned sharp. Don't romanticize this. This is not poetic. This is legal. This is your name, your contracts, your team, our team about to get burned. Jungkook stepped closer, voice shaking now. I didn't ask for the world to know. But once it started, I wasn't going to lie again. If I lose everything, then fine. But I'm not losing you again. Taehyung looked at him. For the first time, his anger faded slightly. And if you lose both? Jungkook's voice dropped. Then at least I'll know I didn't lose myself. The studio fell silent again. Outside, the sky had turned the color of bruises, clouds curling above the city like fists waiting to strike. A storm was coming, but neither of them had moved. Neither of them blinked. Then the door burst open. Yoongi stormed in, holding his phone. We have a problem. Jungkook turned quickly. I know. HYBE's... No. Bigger than that. Yoongi tossed the phone onto the desk. A video was playing on screen. Jungkook's live clipped, edited, twisted. Someone had uploaded a manipulated version of his confession. The audio had been altered to make it seem like he had admitted to a hidden relationship during BTS promotions. The voice was his, but the words had been stitched together like a scalpel wound. "Where did this come from?" Taehyung whispered. "Anonymous upload. Twitter. YouTube. Already hit TikTok." Yoongi's voice was clipped, furious. "It's trending with hashtags like number BTS betrayal and number lead talls." Jungkook's face went pale. "They're weaponizing it." "And the worst part?" Yoongi said, eyes narrowing. "Armies are fighting each other over it." Taehyung moved to the screen, watching the clip again, jaw locked. "They made it sound like you confessed to violating the group's image." Jungkook's fists clenched. "They want the fans to turn. They want to isolate me. Classic play." Taehyung turned to him. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to tell the truth. Again. Live. Unedited. No music. No tears. Just facts." Yoongi stepped in front of him. "That won't be enough. Hi, Bulsu. You'll be branded disloyal. They'll paint you as the one who cracked the dynasty." Jungkook's voice was cold now. "Then let them try." Taehyung stepped forward, quieter. "And what about me?" Jungkook looked at him, voice raw. "They're already blaming you. No matter what I say, they'll find a way to drag you in. So maybe it's time we stop running." Taehyung stared into his eyes, and for the first time, something broke. "Do it with me," Jungkook whispered. "We don't have to be perfect, but let's be honest. Together." Taehyung looked down. "I'm tired," he said softly. "Tired of being a silhouette in someone else's spotlight. Tired of pretending I was okay being your ghost." Jungkook's voice cracked. "You were never a ghost to me. You were the whole damn song." Yoongi watched them both, then sighed. "Fine. But if you're going to do this, we do it on our terms." He handed them a camera. "Record it. Sit side by side. No edits, no drama. Just two men, one truth." Taehyung looked at Jungkook. "Are you sure?" Jungkook nodded slowly. "If I go down, I'm taking the truth with me." Taehyung took the mic. Jungkook adjusted the frame. They sat down on the floor, side by side. The camera blinked red. And for the first time, not as idols, not as products, not as shadows, they spoke as themselves. Not to prove anything, but because silence had already cost them too much. And this time, the world would listen.